In example 4, we're going to be given f prime of x, and we're going to want to graph f of x. So we'll either be given the graph of f prime of x, or we'll be given properties about the derivative, and it'd be expected to graph our original function. So given these three properties, we're going to go ahead and graph our original function. So the first thing we know is that f of 0 is 0. This translates to an ordered pair on the graph 0, 0. The second property is that f prime of x is equal to -1 on the interval -infinity to 1, and f prime of x is equal to 2 on the interval from 1 to infinity. So what this means is that from -infinity to 1, m is equal to -1, and then from 1 to infinity, our slope is going to be equal to 2. And then we also know that f is continuous for all y. This is important because a function has to be continuous to have a derivative. So now let's use all this information and go ahead and graph our function. So we know that we have the point 0, 0 on the graph. So I'll put that right here. And then the derivative changes when x equals 1. So when x equals 1, which is right here, our derivative is going to go from being -1 to 2. So when we're less than 1, we have a slope of -1. So that means my graph is going to be going this way. So this means that with a slope of -1, I go down 1 over 1. And if I reverse it, I go up 1 over 1. And so this is going to give me my slope of -1 until I get to x equals 1. Once I hit 1, my slope changes to m equals 2. So now I'm going to draw in a slope of 2 after x equals 1. So I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and so on. And then I connect those with the line. And so what we have here is we have for this part of the graph, m is equal to 2. And for this part of the graph, we have that m is equal to -1. And again, the x-axis are x values and the y-axis is slope, which is f prime of x. So this is the graph of my original function, which has a derivative where the slope is equal to -1 until you get to x equals 1, and then it's 2 from there on. So if I were to write this as a piecewise function, f prime of x is equal to -1 when x is less than 1, and it's equal to 2 when x is greater than 1. Now on your own, I want you to try to sketch the function using these following conditions. It's very similar to the one we just did, but instead of giving you three properties, I give you one rule and tell you about the derivative. So based off this piece of information, we have the coordinate 0, 1. And then this piece of information tells me that when x is larger than 2, the slope is, when x is less than 2, the slope is 2. And when x is larger than 2, the slope is -1. All right, so let's do it. So we have the point 0, 1 on the graph. So there's 0, 1. And now we know that the slope is going to be -1 when we're less than 2, or bigger than 2, and 2 when we're less than 2. So 0 is less than 2, so we still have the slope of 2. So I go up 2 over 1. And I'm only at x equals 1, so I have to do that again. Up 2 over 1. And right here, this is the point x equals 2, which is the point 2, 5. And as soon as I hit 2, my slope changes to -1. So I go down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and so on. And so now you just draw it in. And so this is going to be the graph of our derivative.